Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about a review, particularly the CPE one. And as you know, this is one of the 4 options in part 2 writing. Those of you who have taken the CE exam or any other similar ones are familiar with the type of writing, and this video will help you brush up on your knowledge. And those people who are not will find out more about how to write a review in general and will be shown the ropes. So let's get started. Before we talk about the CP review, about the structure and so on, here is the plan of what I'm going to talk about today. First of all, I'll give you general information about reviews. Then we'll talk about the structure and I'll show you a sample that will help us understand what's typical of reviews. Then we'll look at the language of the sample, of the vocabulary, and I'll tell you something about the choice of words. And the final one is revision. So we'll recap what we have discussed, what we have talked about. So let's get down to business. Before going on to talk about the structural and stylistic features of a review, it's essential to understand what a review is. Now you see the definition. A review is a type of report, normally in the media sphere, in which a person gives their opinion on something such as a film or a book. As you see, reviews are subjective and normally have their own style. When it comes to a CP review in particular, a candidate is required to do several things. You see them now. The first one is the person has to stick to the word limit. Second, a person should provide a balance of information and opinion. That's essential. Third, use a variety of language, including specialist terms. Remember that this is the CP exam or CAE exam, and you have to show the examiner that you have a diverse, your language is really advanced, proficient, and you can play with different words and structures. And the final point is that you have to address all the points specified in the task. So I suggest that you read the task carefully and underline the points in the task itself so as to remember what you have to cover in your review. And it doesn't only, it isn't only about reviews. It's also about any type of writing, be it an essay, be it a letter, or whatever. And in general, it's about any task you do. So please underline the point that you have to cover, because in my experience as a teacher, people tend to, neglect some of the points, and it happens because they are either stressed or they're somehow a little careless because the teacher always explains and says what they have to do. So please take this into consideration. Now I'm going to show you a sample review. I have several slides with different parts of the review, so please pause the video, read the part, then play it and read the other parts. So there are going to be 3 slides with the sample. So let's go. So this is the first part. Pause the video now and read it. Okay, the next part. Okay, and the final part. All right, so as you see, in this review, the person talks about the use of special effects in films in general, and in the film The Perfect Storm in particular. Now let's look at each paragraph of the review and talk about the structure. So these are the 2 first paragraphs, and they have the same idea. In the first paragraph, the person mentions the film and gives general information about the film, about the type, and about the budget and whatnot. In the second part, the person gives the reason why he or she has chosen this this film. And the second part also informs the reader what topic the writer is going to develop. In our situation, this is the weather and how the power of weather is portrayed in the film. So you see the person is getting closer and closer to the main idea of the review. So what the person is going to focus on. Next. This is the biggest part, the third paragraph. Here, the writer describes the particular film scenes and explains how visual effects manage to make the film like more thrilling and captivating. So you see that the phrases are marked in green, they're green, and it shows you what the person talks about. For example, you feel as though you're in the boat with a crew facing those gigantic waves. So the person gives evidence to how special effects influence how they how they make you perceive the film. So what changes because of them. And the last paragraph, the final one. So the writer talks about special effects in films in general, and he decides, he tries to, so he says that it all depends on the type of films and the target audience. You see, this is the final part in the review, and it's logical that the person finishes it all, rounds it all off with this general information, and the final paragraph serves as a conclusion. But of course, it all depends on the task, and it doesn't matter that there is no conclusion. There is, but in this particular situation, when a person speaks about special effects in general, we understand that the person rounds off their view, and this is like the final part. But of course, if you can also start the last paragraph by saying to sum up, or by showing that you're going to sum it all up by giving, like by recapping the whole thing. So it's okay, it's fine to do that. Now that we have looked at each part, let's look at the task itself and check whether the person who has written this review have covered all the parts. Look at the task. You see that, like we've already mentioned, that the idea is to write about special effects in films, whether they are essential today or distracting. And there are 2 points. The first, write a review of a film you have seen that uses special effects. The person has chosen the film The Perfect Storm, and that was the third paragraph where the person focused on this. And say whether you think they're an important aspect of today's films. That was the last paragraph, and actually the person has covered all the points. So now let's get back to the review again and analyze its stylistic features. So these are the first 2 paragraphs again. So the words, like these purple words, so I've highlighted, I've put them in bold. This is the person names, so the person mentions the genre, so the blockbuster. He says like what budget, and the person says what budget the film has, and also the person mentioned what he or she liked the most. This is the subplot. I've highlighted these words, like I've marked them here to show you that it's essential to give the words their real names, to give things their real names. Sorry, not words, but things. For example, if you say it's a film, it's a thrilling film, or there is a lot of action, it's okay, but it's a blockbuster. Or you can say that they have spent a lot of money on the film. No, this is the budget. These are somehow specialist terms, but they're prerequisite of reviews when you describe films or books, such things as the plot, the cast, and so on. So you show that you're aware of this vocabulary and you know the names of things in general. Next paragraph. Here we have a variety of language. First, language typical of reviews. For example, special effects kick in, or the film stars, or the film cast to, and also some descriptive language, beautiful language like the eye of the storm, outstanding use of special effects, clever use of digital imaging, like instead of special effects, by the way, synonyms, don't forget about them, and scan the horizon. So one more thing. And the last paragraph, also some beautiful vocabulary like be a prerequisite of or heightened attention. But you may have seen that in paragraph 2 and in paragraph 4 here, there are 2 sentences underlined. These are 2 more. This is one more stylistic device, which is typical of reviews. Oh, I'm sorry, the sun. The sun has come out. Okay, coming back, yeah, to the sentences. There are it's typical to use. It's typical of reviews when a person uses rhetorical questions. And it's obvious that rhetorical questions are aimed at the reader and they make the reader think. They make the reader come up with the idea, with the answer. But it doesn't mean that you just ask this question and leave it. No, you also give your opinion. You know, it's a good idea to use rhetorical questions to preface opinions and ideas and help the reader like follow the flow of a review. And that's why I suggest you use them when you write, especially reviews. So now that we have talked about and looked at the stylistic and stylistic features, at the structural features of the review, it's time to recap. So here are 5 points, 5 statements. Pause the video and mark them as true or false, and then we'll check. Okay. So, number 1, when writing a review, it's essential to describe the whole plot. Obviously, it's false. So you mention the film or book you're going to talk about. You also say why you have chosen this particular one. You give brief information about it, but you do not describe every single detail and the plot itself. It's not the synopsis. It's just a different type of work. It's a different type of writing. Number 2, rhetorical questions can be used to preface opinions and ideas. Actually, this is true. The point of rhetorical questions is to make the reader come up with their own answer without answering them. It's false. Yes, you make the reader ponder the question, definitely, but you answer it yourself. Next, specialist terms should be used to show your range of vocabulary. True, remember, give things their real names. And the final one, you can name the book or the film or the play, and you can name them later in the review and write a general introduction. It's false. So you name them at the very, very beginning. You briefly describe them. You justify your choice. You can say why you have chosen this particular piece. So why is it interesting for you? And then you go on with your review. So now I think you have a better picture of what a review is. Please comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions. I'll be really happy to talk to you about this, and we'll be happy to discuss some points with you. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.